Nancy Pelosi and her husband Paul Pelosi just sold 25,000 shares of chipmaker NVIDIA at a $300,000 loss just one day before the CHIPS Act passed through Congress, which boosted the company's stock by over 7%. This is an unusual move for Pelosi, who has become known for alleged insider trading amongst members of Congress. So in this video, we are going to look at Pelosi and her husband's background in sketchy stock trading and why she might have made this trade. This is Dirty Money. Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the US House of Representatives. Here's a reporter recently asking her if her husband, Paul Pelosi, who runs a venture capital firm, has ever benefited from being married to the House Speaker in his investments.
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information you've received from you?
No, absolutely not. Okay, thank you.
But that is not what official filings state. The circumstantial evidence shows a clear pattern between bills moving through Congress and Nancy Pelosi and her husband investing in certain stocks. For example, the Pelosis participated in the Visa IPO in 2008, right when legislation was moving through Congress to limit credit card fees, and Visa was lobbying Congress in DC. They invested in Tesla ahead of clean energy initiatives, and also bought options on Google stock at the bottom of the recession in 2020, and exercised those options when they were worth over $5 million, just before a House panel considered antitrust bills against Google and other tech companies. There's even now a website called congresstrading.com where you can subscribe to see all the trades made by members of Congress and their family members. And they do outperform the market. And that brings us to the Pelosi's NVIDIA position. Paul Pelosi bought call options on NVIDIA and exercised those options for 20,000 shares on June 17th. This added to stock he owned in the company from other trades. This was done just as the CHIPS Act, which would provide $52 billion in subsidies for chip makers, was passing through Congress. As the act passed the Senate, it caught the attention of Michael Burry, famous for predicting the 2008 housing crash and the subject of the movie The Big Short. He stated on Twitter, "So Speaker Pelosi made a bundle on semiconductor stocks bought recently because she knew this was coming. Should be illegal." Then just one day before the bill passed the House, Pelosi filed this form saying she'd sold 25,000 shares and claimed a loss of $341,000. Now normally Pelosi files these forms on Thursdays or Fridays, so they become public at the end of the week and the media can quietly bury the news over the weekend. But this time it was done on a Tuesday, and interestingly the form was filed the day the transaction was made, which is unusual because Congress members do have several weeks before they have to disclose their stock trades. Now this makes it seem that Pelosi wasn't trying to bury the news this time, but instead make it as public as possible. And that could be because the Ban on Congressional Stock Trading Act is gaining some steam in the Senate. It is a bill that would force current members of Congress, and crucially their spouses and dependents, to either divest from their stock positions or place those stocks into a blind trust, and they may not acquire new stock investments while in office. This would directly affect Pelosi and her husband. The recent sale of NVIDIA stock may only be a fraction of what the Pelosis own due to the fact that members of Congress only have to report a rough range of the value of their investments and not exact figures. So it may have just been a PR stunt to try and get Michael Burry and the congresstrading.com crowd off their backs. And there's a second benefit to selling now too. If Pelosi causes geopolitical instability with her trip to Taiwan,
if the US insists on following the wrong course of action, then it should be responsible for any serious consequence arising thereof.
the price of all chip makers is sure to tank, and she can just buy back in at a lower cost basis. You've been watching Dirty Money. Please subscribe if you're new. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.